Welcome to the Coach Ethan Atchley Show. I'm Greg Horn. We're here to talk Lexington Christian Academy Eagles football. And Coach, we're just a little bit past the midway point of the season, and 4-2, ranked 8th in the state. And I know as a great football coach that competitive as you are, that you'd love to be undefeated, but pretty good season so far.
Yeah, it definitely has been. Everybody'd like to be 6-0 at this point, but the alternatives of worse records are always something that goes in the back of your mind. It's been good for us to reflect on the 2 losses, having been right before the district. We've learned some things about our team that maybe weren't exposed the first few, so it's been good to be able to tweak some things here and there and make modifications as we get into the district. But excited about 4-2, excited about being young in a lot of spots and still having great success. And 4-2 is better than 3-3 last year heading into the district, so we're excited to see what this year's district holds.
Well, you got off to the great start. Williamsburg came ranked in the top 10 in single A, and you beat them 51-0. So great start to the season.
Yeah, that first win was huge. I mean, being able to come on out and our scrimmage was good and bad in a lot of spots, but be able to come out and pretty much dominate that game was unbelievable. Our kids played well. Felt like we had a good game plan going in, but ultimately it's up to the kids that are on the field in order to execute it. And we don't get to play as coaches on Friday nights, and they do. And they executed offensively, defensively, and special teams to about near perfection in a lot of regards. So, to start the season off with a 51-0 win was huge for some momentum as we headed into week 2.
Then you went on the road to Kentucky Country Day. And of course, it's always tough going on the road for the first time, especially with a young team, but came away with another convincing win as you put up over 50 points again. You won 55-34 for another win to go 2-0.
Yeah, Kentucky Country Day gave us a little different flavor, offensively, that gave us some problems. And, we were able to have to, dedicate to stopping the run on just about every down, no matter what it was. And that helped us learn that when you get in the district and it gets cold, you're going to have to stop the run too. So we were able to find some strengths and weaknesses in that game that hopefully will bode well for us as the season goes on. But Kentucky Country Day was, one of the most fundamentally sound teams that I've come across. On film, in previous years' film that we were able to get, and then seeing them on Friday nights, they weren't flashy, and they weren't spread and anything like that. They just wanted to execute their game, and they were going to do what they do. And unfortunately, they didn't have the firepower. And fortunately for us, we were able to capitalize on that. Offensively, we churned out another great game, executed that. exceptionally as well. Maybe not as flawlessly as the Williamsburg game, but defensively we learned some things about some players, and we were able to move some kids around as we kept going and through the season, and that was huge for us. So.
All right, well, then you come back home, you win 21-6 against Greene County. Then you go on the road to Estill County, which was a good team. And in a weather-delayed team, weather delays that we had that night, you guys came out in the second half and just pulled away big time and won 62-33. Talk about that Estill County game.
Yeah, the good thing about both the Greene County and the Estill County game was that we had some adversity. We had to start late in the Greene County game, and then we had to start and then stop and get back going again against Estill County. And sometimes in years past, when I've been around the program as a head coach and as assistant, that's kind of been our demise. Sometimes we go on the road, we don't know what team shows up, and luckily I think that culture's changing, and that's huge. We started fast in most of our away games so far this year, and the Estill County game was good because we got up, we were starting to pull away, and we were able to come back out and finish the deal. That weather delay and that no halftime per se at the end of the second quarter was good for our kids to know that as soon as the first half was over, we got to go right back into the third quarter and finish out. And for 4 games, I felt like offensively we executed a great deal to what we were after each game. And you got sophomores galore stepping up, and Drayden Burton and Ryan Stuckey and Logan Nevis at quarterback before he got hurt, and Braden Miller, and offensive line was improving each week in a lot of regards, which was huge. And we found another tight end product, this year in Kyle Paskey, who's a senior, but doing a lot for us offensively and on the defensive line, and just being able to spread the ball around, and give the ball to Dylan Wheatley when we need to. It's been huge, and we know when it gets cold, every team. Last year in the state championship, there weren't many passes thrown because you just don't know what that weather is going to be like come December. And it's good to know that we've got a running game we can hang our hat on, and you might see more of that here as we go along.
All right, well, then Walton Verona, a tough 1-point loss, and then went on the road a couple weeks ago and played a top 10 ranked Fairview team and came up short little 50-34. What an outstanding quarterback they had. That was a really good team and a really tough road environment. Yeah,
if the Fairview quote-unquote environment, home field advantage was everything we hope Eagle Valley is here as we get into the district against Somerset and Danville. Playing all kinds of music pregame, playing music during third downs and timeouts, and I think it not so much had our kids rattled, but they were shaking a little bit at the beginning. And I've never met coaching a high school football game that was like that, with that kind of environment, other than maybe Hazard in years past. So that was good for our kids to see that, because each and every year we always find one, and then we get into the playoffs and it's not a shell shock. So that's a good thing. But you talk about the Fairview loss and the Walton Verona game. I don't want to say it was a fluke, but at the end of the day, I was proud that our kids, we got punched first and got down 14-0 and ended up battling back and getting up 2 scores. So in years past, maybe we've laid down. So that's another thing that's changing around this program, and that's huge. Even though we lost that game, to learn some things, and it burned our kids to be 4-0, lose a game, be 4-1, and have a sour taste in their mouth. And not that that's a good thing all the time, but it's a good thing to learn and know that you can learn from losses at times. There's no such thing as a good loss, and you don't need to lose to learn everything, but sometimes it helps. It wakens you up and makes you focus a little bit more. And then, like you said, that Fairview quarterback, heck of a player. He might be the most unsought after recruit, I think, right now in the state of Kentucky. We knew it going into the game, and he's got a couple talented kids all around him, but he's just pretty fundamentally sound and strong arm, smart kid.
6'4", so
yeah.
A lot of times you guys almost had him sacked, but he was so tall. And as a senior, it gets me excited to see with all the young players that we have what our team will continue to grow like in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I shook that kid's hand at the end of the game and said, you're one of the best quarterbacks I've had to scheme against, and obviously, giving up 50 points, we weren't able to scheme a whole lot, successfully. So that's, and that's on me as a head coach, and calling the defense, and ultimately that kid made me look bad and made our defense look worse. And ultimately, it's not the kid's fault. He's just one heck of a player, and we got to make some adjustments as coaches better and put our team in a better situation to win some ball games, defensively. So.
Well, he's made a lot of teams look bad. That guy was outstanding. All right. It's great 4-2 district play, getting ready to go on the road at Middlesbrough, and then we've got Somerset and Danville at home, then go on the road to Powell County. Really, kind of the season actually begins now, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no question. It's the one great thing about, the state of Kentucky, and sometimes the bad thing, you play 6 games at the beginning of the year, or however big your district is, and once the district comes, that pretty much determines where you're at, come playoff time. everybody wants those home games. You rotate state semifinal games and then state championships driving to Bowling Green. So ultimately we're going to have to go on the road at some point. We hope it's not the first 3 games, and being our district's odd this year, we're able to jump down and be able to play 3 games at home if we can win them all here in the district. And that's the goal each and every year, bring back district titles here to LCA. We won a bunch in 1A, and we're going after our first one this year in 2A, and I think we can get it done.
Well, let's talk a little bit now about the team as a whole. You guys are 12th in the state in scoring. Talk a little bit about this offensive line. It's obvious you can't run the ball without a great offensive line. You can't pass the ball without protection. So talk about just the great production, protection, and just the strength that your offensive line is this year.
Oh, I mean, it all starts with Will Southall at center. I mean, he's one of the smartest kids, more analytical kids that wants to know each and every detail that we've got playing center. He calls things out. He wants to know the why, and it's not a questioning why with him. He just he wants to understand, and he's going to be if he'd ever give it a chance, he'd be a heck of a coach one day, because I mean he's just one of the smartest kids football wise I've ever been around, and proud of him for everything he's done the last few years. Some people look at him and he might be undersized. He's not a 300-pound kid, but I mean he's the most fundamentally sound offensive lineman we have for the last 2 years, period. And that's huge for us, just knowing that in the middle we're anchored. And Will's done a great job just making sure that protections and all our line calls are almost literally 100% spot on. And he's helping a right guard and Ben Whitman, that's a freshman, starting. His brother Nick last year rushed for a gajillion yards, and his older brother Neil was a heck of a football player here before on the state championship team. So unfortunately the Whitmans aren't having any more, but we'd have wished they would. But Ben's been great as a freshman to be able to step into that right guard slot. That was we were unsure at the beginning of the year where that was going to go, but for a freshman, couldn't be more proud of what he's been able to do. But ultimately, the other 3 spots are guys that have played in areas before. Riley started for us on the defensive line last year. Clay's a 2-way starter for us, and Wyatt plays left tackle now. Will's younger brother, and all 5 of those guys are starting to gel. Protection wise, we know we got to get better. Obviously, we've been able to throw the ball for a big chunk of yards, and a lot of that stuff's been on screens, and so that's one huge area that I think we've improved this year. Is last year, I don't think we were as good as we are this year at screens, and that's one thing in this offense you got to be able to do well. And your linemen, no matter how big and no matter how small, they got to be able to get out and go block people downfield in space, and that's what we're going to pride ourselves on here as we get into the district and go beyond. And for years to come, is our offensive line's got to be mean and nasty to run the ball, and then we've also got to be able to throw screens, and and then protections last, ultimately. And that sounds backwards per se, but it's part of it.
All right, we're going to take a break right now and recognize some of our sponsors. Thanks for joining in for the Coach Ethan Atchley Show. We'll be right back after this commercial. Welcome back to the Coach Ethan Atchley Show. I'm Greg Horn. We're talking Lexington Christian Academy Eagles football, their outstanding season, 4-2, ranked 8th in the state in the 2A rankings. And Coach, we talked about that your offense, you're ranked 12th in the state in scoring. You're scoring 42 points a game. We talked about how great the offensive line is. Quarterback position, you're getting great leadership. You started out with a platoon system with Logan Nevis and Braden Miller. Unfortunately, Logan got hurt, but both those guys are playing really well, and Braden has continued to play well as he's getting the snaps now after Logan's injury. Talk about the quarterback play you've been getting this year.
The platoon system, everybody, around me coaching, hundreds of years of coaching experience that I've asked and talked about with that platoon system we started with early in the year. Most of them said if you've got two, you got none, and ultimately I think we proved that wrong. And we had two guys that were able to get in and throw the ball, run the ball, and keep defenses honest with different attributes they're good at. And
both guys were both playing at a high level.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable. Just I don't think we thought that was capable, just because they're sophomores. But we knew that both had a chance to be
and
super
they are
successful.
Sophomores.
Right,
they're sophomores. That's the amazing part about it.
That's. When we walked into the season, we knew that there might be some games we might have to slow it down a little bit more than we'd like to, and not be able to play as fast as we want to each and every snap. But it proved that we could be successful with both of them, and not that we had any doubt in that we could be successful with both. We just didn't know. We thought maybe one might take the upper hand eventually, and both proved for 3 games that they were going to continue to move the ball at a high rate of speed and put the ball in the end zone, and that's what both were able to do. And unfortunately, Logan got hurt, and he's just a football player, got hurt on what some people might say, Coach, you're crazy for putting him on kickoff, you're crazy for putting him on defense, but we need our best athletes on the field at all times, and I'll continue to do that each and every year, no matter what position you might play. And unfortunately, Logan was a byproduct of that. I feel for him, love him, but ultimately it was a team decision, and ultimately he didn't get to make it out, and I see the season out. But I know that each and every day he's out there with us, continuing to encourage kids, and that's what a leader does. And Logan is that through and through.
He's had his shoulder surgery, seems to be starting well in the recovery process.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been able to, get out. Basically, he'll be back to full strength here in 3 months lifting. So as soon as we get back in the off season, hopefully after a successful end, he'll be right back with us in January, getting ready to go for next year. That's good, encouraging. I think it was for him. I know that there were some balls thrown up in the air whether he could continue to play or not, and ultimately surgery was the best option for him and his family, and really for my support ultimately too. He needed it. He's a quarterback, but like I said, he is a football player too, and we'd love to have him out there playing whatever, but quarterback's his thing, and we're able to get him next year playing that position. So but Braden stepped up. That's been a huge thing for us. Braden's been a kid that we've had our eye on for a while, and just his success at the quarterback position. Didn't play anything else. He's a quarterback through and through, and just been really, really good for us in a lot of ways. He's a leader as well. He's able to get kids in right spots. Another smart kid that we're fortunate to have on the team, understands what we're doing, and really, really understands the passing game and where the ball's got to be. And he's got great touch in a lot of instances, been able to put the ball with some air maybe when it really, really needed it, that maybe some high school quarterbacks, even seniors, might not have been able to do. So that's he's watching him on film has been a treat. Watching him on Friday nights, make plays has been even better when we get W's. So
absolutely,
just looking back and tweaking some things with him, I think we'll be even better as we go into the district play here. Now that we know, really what he's been good at, and we'll capitalize on that stuff and maybe throw some other things out the door that have been harder for our offense or for him or whatever it may be.
But one of the things, too, I love about your team, after that Logan had his surgery, I saw a picture, I believe it's on Instagram, of all the guys over at, I believe it was Logan's house, just there to say, hey, man, we support you. And, obviously you win together on the field, but a lot of that happens in the relationships off the field, doesn't it, Coach?
No question. I think just about every boy was able to make it over there for a good hour or so, or even more, and being able to get to his house. And Neva's family is unbelievable. Support the program, support him, support me and this coaching staff and the school. And just being able to get the boys over there, off the field, that's a lot of times when those relationships, like you said, are built. And it's not always out here running gassers or Friday nights or whatever it may be. And just getting him, the support that he needed shortly after surgery, I know was a boost to his morale. Shortly after going under the needle and knowing that he's out for the rest of the year, it was good, and encouraging. And each and every pregame we scream, I am my brother's keeper, and that just continues to show what this program's about. That we are a family, and we are continuing to change a culture, but we're going to continue to build young men, into people that are going to be productive citizens, productive Christians, and continue to spread the word of God, and ultimately, hold each other accountable and support each other when they need it. So that's been good for him and for this team.
Let's talk a little bit about Dylan Wheatley. We talked about the offensive line. Obviously, it's helped the quarterbacks. It helps the running backs. Dylan Wheatley's been the top 15 in the state most of the year in rushing. He's actually 9th in the state in scoring. Talk a little bit about the play of your running back, Dylan Wheatley.
32. I'll tell you what, he's a football player as well. He pretty much goes both ways for us almost the whole time, and carries the workload. And his production ultimately will increase as the season goes along and it gets colder. So we're going to need more and more out of him. But what we've gotten so far, unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. He's a kid that last year we were able to throw in. Unfortunately, when Nick Whitman got hurt, rushed for over 100 yards against Leslie County in a half, and then was able to rush for over 100 in a second-round playoff game against Shelby Valley as a true freshman. So it's crazy to think you can get ninth graders to be as productive at the high school level. And Dylan and a lot of the freshmen we played last year proved that. And we're going to continue to look for other kids. Ben's doing it this year for us, and there's been some other kids that have gotten some roles and responsibilities at a young age that continue to buy in, see what it's about, learn their role, and flourish. And Dylan's a byproduct of being able to play last year predominantly offensively and defensively. This year the game slowed down for him, and you could see even more production out of him. So we're extremely thrilled with what he's been able to do.
And one of the things I love about Dylan Wheatley, not the first hit's going to bring him down.
Yeah.
He just keeps churning those legs. It's always got to be a gang tackle, and that's got to wear on the defenses, because not just one guy pays for it. He's the one that's actually, it seems like sometimes is doing the hitting, even though he's on the offensive side.
His first carry is as good as his 20th, and we're hoping it'll be as good as his 25th year as we go along, and hopefully we don't have to do too much more of that. We don't want to hand the ball to, running back 50 sometimes or whatever it was, like with Nick last year, but we got to do what we got to do. We're a football team. We can quote-unquote be spread, but at the end of the day, we got to win football games, and however we're going to do it, we'll figure that out as we go.
Well, you've also got an outstanding receiving core. Ryan Stuckey is 5th in the state in receiving yards. So talk a little bit about your receiving core. Ryan Stuckey, Drayden Burton. You got lots of guys that are doing a great job catching the ball.
The receiving core has been unbelievable. We've got production 3 of 4 starters right now in the receiving core, sophomores, and Kyle's that lone senior that's out there at Y, and being able to get production out of all 4 of them. And you mentioned Ryan, you mentioned Drayden and Kyle, and then Kalen LeBrick's another kid that has sneaked in and caught a couple touchdowns. And he's short by stature, but he plays a big game.
Yes,
he's tough. He's willing to go out there and do anything we ask. He's one of the most coachable kids we have, and detail-oriented. Love what Kalen brings to practice and everything each and every day. A lot of times we use him on scout offense, and just being able to give a different look for kids we may see that are short, quick, or a speedy receiver, or even he might step in at quarterback sometimes. We might need a running quarterback, and he'll do anything you ever ask, and that's been huge. But Ryan, has got a ton of yards and been able to give Braden a release valve here and there when we need it. And Kyle's playing both ways, and Drayden now is playing both ways as well. So we've been able to utilize both of those in some key roles and key situations, and get the ball out there to those guys when needed. But as the year goes along, we're going to need to hopefully have people not key on any one of the 4, and then they can't load the box or they can't take one away. But the good thing is, if they take one away, we've got 3 others that we feel ultra confident in getting the ball to. So we'll see it have a lot of success here as we go along. So that's been good.
But one of the things about Ryan Stuckey, we talk about it, Matt Leo and I do on the broadcast, that the yards after the catch, he gets tremendous yardage after the catches.
He's a great kid that, at the last possible second, just making you miss barely, sliding off a tackle, making one kid miss, making 2 kids miss. And, he's not going to be the ultra 4.2 speed guy that you're going to want sometimes at receiver, but he's going to be a kid that's going to catch the ball and get straight upfield. And as soon as he gets straight upfield, 5 yards a yak after a missed tackle turns into 10. And as you said, he's probably the best screen guy we got. He'll catch the ball and get straight upfield and never, juke, never jive, and just get what we can. And sometimes that may be 1 yard, and sometimes that's turned into way more, as you mentioned. It's great to have a kid that's coachable. Coach Thacker and I, and all our offensive coaches are always yelling, catch the ball, get upfield for 5, and you're never going to get 5 every single time, but ultimately, if we can continue to strive to try and do that, we'll be first in the state in scoring instead of just a little bit below it. So.
All right, well, we're going to take a short break, recognize some of our sponsors. Hope you'll support them that make the LCA Football Coaches show possible. I'm Greg Horn, Coach E. Right back after this.
Nice job today.
Thanks, Coach.
Proud of you. We'll get back at it tomorrow. If we lose focus on the field, it could cost us a penalty or even the game. If you lose focus behind the wheel by texting and driving, it costs you a fine or worse, your life. Big Blue Nation, don't text and drive.
Welcome back to the Coach Ethan Atchley Show. I'm Greg Horn. We're here on LCADN.TV. Hope that you'll join for football broadcasts, also volleyball and soccer. It's going to be your place for LCA sports all year. And we want to thank all our sponsors that make this possible and hope that you'll support them with your business and tell them thank you for making LCADN.TV possible. Well, Coach, we've talked a lot about the offensive side of the ball. Let's get over to the defensive side of the ball and talk about that and just some of the play that you're getting, people such as Clay Elliott, Brett Wilkins, Turner Brown, Jonathan Kaufman. I mean, I could go on and on, but just talk a little bit about your defense.
Yes, I mean, we've had some bumps in the road, there's no doubt, but ultimately, you know, as we move along here, we've been able to tweak some things as we've gone into the bye week, and that's been huge for us to be able to slow down and look at what we've been good at, what we've been bad at, and make changes. And it's not going to be wholesale changes by any means. It's just going to be, you know, a position or a move here and there, or, you know, being aggressive in other situations as opposed to, you know, maybe trying to let us just get off the field instead of taking people, you know, off the field and making them really have to get sacked, or it's an interception, or you know, maybe we're going to strip the ball a little bit more, but we're just going to be a little bit more aggressive and fly around a little bit more, which would be good. But individually, you know, we've had a lot of key moments in certain games where kids have stepped up for us, and you mentioned a lot of the big ones. You know, our linebacking core this year, you know, Clay Ock's been back there a little bit, but he's been really helping to anchor, you know, one of our defensive sides at defensive end, and he's an unbelievable Mike linebacker, but I truly believe he's an even better defensive end, defensive lineman, and really create some problems for offensive lines. There's no question. One of the best pass rushers we've had come through here, I think. You know, led the team in sacks last year, his sophomore year, and again this year as we move along. So can't say enough about what Clay's brought to this team, and his leadership is, I've mentioned many times before, is just undeniable, unbelievable. But we've had two juniors step in there in starters. You know, we had Nick and Clay back there some last year, and Daniel White was a senior. So we lose two to attrition, and one moves, you know, predominantly positions. And Clay Elliott and Brett Wilkins have been unbelievable stepping into those roles. Both are, you know, top of the team in tackles, along with another linebacker that's moved to some defensive line, and Wade Drake, who's another sophomore. And those four guys right there have really helped, you know, shut down a lot of run games for us. And, you know, we've been gashed a little bit here and there, and they maybe haven't had the best possible games they could have individually, but have stepped up in other moments in order to give us a chance on defense. And couldn't be more proud about those guys and the rest of the unit. You know, you mentioned Turner and Jonathan Kaufman, two incredibly smart defensive backs for us. Drayden's been back there, and Jonathan's been injured the last couple games, and we hope to get him back here as we enter district play, and that'll be huge. He call him a human recorder. Anything you ever tell him, he memorizes. I taxed him with, making sure he stares at Middlesbrough, Somerset, and Danville, and making sure he understands all those pass concepts on third down. And he's one that's grown into a leadership role and been able to communicate. So we're proud of him. And Turner is a senior. Paxton Charles is a speedy senior for us that's been able to move over here, and he played lacrosse, and now he's starting at one of the other corners for us. Just unbelievable, knowledge base that they've accumulated over time. Our defensive backs coach, Jason Ferguson, played at EKU and played at Lafayette, and super knowledgeable coach, great teacher of the game, and has really helped some of those guys improve immensely in areas. So that's been great for us, knowing that we could depend on the back end in a lot of games. And last year, our pass defense suffered a lot. This year, we've struggled in certain instances, but it hasn't been as wholesale as it was last year. So we've improved in a lot of facets and still moved some kids around. And ultimately, it's still going to start up front. As we get, as I mentioned, the running game for us, as we get colder and colder, longer and longer in the season, we're going to need to stop the run more and more. We may run into Shelby Valley in the region, and they're going to run the ball 90% of the time, and we're going to need to know that our run defense is going to need to support what we can defensively. But those guys on the back end can't fall asleep either. So it's a rhyme and reason takeaway type game, and ultimately you're going to get kids that are going to listen. They're going to be coachable, and defensively we're going to see ourselves in a little bit more aggressive situations as we go along, trying to get that ball back for our offense. As soon as we do that, a couple times, a couple stops here and there, turnover here and there has been the difference for us in ball games. We got to control the ball on offense. Don't let people take it away from us. Get a couple takeaways, a couple stops defensively, and you turn those scores into winning by 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns at the rate our offense can score. So excited about the opportunities we got ahead of us.
Let's talk a little bit about the support that you've had from the LCA community. Have had outstanding attendance at the home games. Just a great atmosphere for high school football on Friday nights, Coach.
Yeah, it's improved immensely. Winning helps, there's no question. And, each and every game we look up, we turn around the stands, kids run out of the helmet, student sections lead them out with the LCA flag and the American flag, and it's just a different atmosphere here. And that's been huge. In LCA and new headmaster Rick Burslam and athletic director Terry Johnson, can't say enough about the support they've given us. Anything we've pretty much asked for, they've tried to do. And ultimately, you aren't going to get anything and everything you ask for, but we as a program, as parents and players, we can't say enough about what LCA has done for us to get more and more people out. And like I said, winning and these kids, continue to walk the halls and have people congratulate them after W's and close losses. It's going to continue to bode well for what Friday night's going to be here in Eagle Valley. So excited for 2 district home games against Somerset and Danville and district rivals. We got to go on the road, as you mentioned, to Middlesbrough, but we're excited to come back home for our last 2 district games and know that we're going to get all kinds of support up there in the home stands.
No doubt about it. All right, final question for you. We got Middlesbrough on the road this Friday night, so talk to us about that.
They're a team right now that's they started 0-5. They're 1-5 right now, and they got a big win. It was a gritty win last week against Harlan, 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, they were off last week. So, a team that's again laden with talent that's young. And when you've got young talent, sometimes you don't know what you get on Friday nights, and it's hard to keep in perspective. I'm not a senior. I quote unquote say all the time, if I could put a pill of a senior that just lost his last game in high school and put whatever chemicals are in that brain and put it in all the young kids, right. I'll tell you, you'd win a state championship each and every year at every program.
No doubt.
So it's getting those kids to keep in perspective that you train 8 months out of the year for 4 months potentially, in games that you'll get, and you're not guaranteed another one. You're not guaranteed another snap, and that's what Coach Massengill at Middlesbrough I think is dealing with. They've had so many tough, close losses. They lost to Pineville by a score. They lost to, South Laurel pulled away at the end, and they were up early on Williamsburg in their scrimmage, and then battled back and forth. And Williamsburg's right now finding a groove. So some teams with some younger players, they're this is the time when people kick it into gear, and Middlesbrough this year is going to be, I think, one of those teams as they get into the district. 1-5 is no slouch. When you're playing as tough a teams as they've had to play. So, again, young talent for them. It's time now. Young talent for us. They know it's time now, and luckily we've been able to have a 4-2 record that's a little bit better than 1-5, but everybody's 0-0 at this point. So talented quarterback, talented receiver, talented running back core that's young and old, and they've got a power back and Caps, and then a speedy back that has been hurt for most of the year, number 11, and we're excited about the challenge. You know, and going down there 2.5 hours on a bus, that's another challenge we're up against. But you know, we fought off a lot of adversity this year, and we hope we can do it again as we head into district. So excited about going to Middlesbrough here this Friday.
All right. Well, you've already went 2-1 on the road, so we hope to get win number 3 on the road this week. Go 1-0 in district play. Coach, best of wishes to you and the
Thanks,
Eagles.
sir.
It's Friday night.
Yes, sir.
All right. For our producer, William Warfield, I'm Greg Horn. This has been LCA Football on the LCADN.TV network.